Hi there, my name is Dylan Brewer. I'm going to go over my lesson plan for this week. We're starting off on August 22nd through August 26th. This is the first week at school. I'm pretty excited. This is my second year being a permanent sub. I'm teaching psychology and U.S. Studies Comprehensive, which is U.S. History 1 and U.S. History 2 together. So starting off this week, as far as I gave you my lesson plan for my history class. Starting off this week, what I ended up starting with was the syllabus. So kind of just going over, getting all the students familiar with the environment, and just going all the rules and the classroom expectations. Started off with a team building environment where the students introduce another student, their name, hobbies, interests, and what they want to gain from this course. So going over that the first day, we actually have a setup at Martinsburg High School where there's an odd day where we have first, third, fifth, and seventh. And then on the next day, on Tuesday, we have an even day. So we have second, fourth, sixth, eighth, and what it comes down to is we have an hour and a half classes. So during this course, the classes are very long, they're an hour and a half, and there's a ton of things that we need to cover. So we kind of stagger those through the week. So I have one class Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then switches the following week. So starting off this week, what I ended up doing, the students need to be able to differentiate, hey, we need to look at what is history, okay? So there's no concrete definition on anything like that. So we kind of understood the difference between past and present. So anything that's happening in the present, you just have to look at the past and you'll be able to understand the relationship between the two. So one of the examples I provided was political parties. Okay, so political parties, now we're having the division in our society within Republicans and Democrats. Okay, back in the past, George Washington and the founding fathers came up with an idea, hey, we do not need political parties. This is going to divide our country. Okay, so that gives the relationship, he came up with that idea 200 something years ago, and it still applies to the present to this day. We covered the social studies definition. Okay, so social studies encompasses history in a sense. So social studies is tier 1, the broadest topic, and then history is tier 2. So the things that cover social studies, we always have a course. We're like, man, what is social studies? So we're looking at the definition, okay? So with the definition of social studies and the explanation on that, it covers different things. It covers history, anthropology, economics, civics, government, and all those different types of things that make up, understanding the United States. So I covered those Monday and Tuesday as a basis for the students. So where we're going to start off on, since we're covering U.S. history, got to cover the colonization of the Americas. So I had the students kind of understand, hey, the three main groups and why the United States is so unique is because it's a melting pot, okay? The Native Americans, the Europeans, and when the Europeans came, they immigrated here, but they also brought Africans, slaves, and other indentured servants. So I had them kind of understand that whole concept that the United States, okay, in the past, okay, it's a whole melting pot, and that's why we're all so unique to this day. So we kind of talked about that whole thing. We went over the colonization of America, the people that make up the United States. We had a lecture on that. And then Friday, once we got to Friday, which is tomorrow actually, so Friday, what we're going to cover, we're going to split I'm going to split the students up into groups, and each group, they're going to cover a certain makeup of people. So one group's going to have Native Americans, one group's going to have the Europeans, and one group's going to have African slaves / indentured servants. Okay, so what they're going to cover in this, okay, they're going to talk about their experience getting here, because then when you're looking at history, you need to understand the experience. Okay, what their purpose was. What was their purpose of coming to this country? Okay, why did they want to leave the country that they were in? Okay, and as far as the slaves, okay, they did not have a choice. Okay, how did they get to this point and why? Okay, is the things that I want to find out. Okay, and then we're going to look at the result. Okay, the result. We need to understand the result of all this. Okay, how is this affecting at that moment when the slaves, Native Americans, and the Europeans all were involved in this country? What was the result of all that? So I want to pull all that together. Um, Also, too, how does this all affect us today? Okay, how are the Native Americans today being brought from, well, being here on this country? How did the slaves and indentured servants, how did that affect their type of living? Okay, also, how are the Native Americans affected from the Europeans? Okay, how are they affected by them? Around 100 million Native Americans died from their conflict with the Europeans. Okay, so covering all those three different things of how the Native Americans are affected from each specific group, we're going to do that with the Europeans as well. How are the Europeans affected by the slaves? Okay, obviously they're affected in a positive light. Okay, they had to use them for free labor. Okay, to set up the new world. The Native Americans, the Native American conflict between the Europeans. Europeans and themselves. Okay, they had a conflict. Trade, we're going to talk about that. Also, too, we're going to talk about the slaves. How are they affected by the Europeans and the Native Americans? Because we're going to look at the whole relationship between the three. And then once we bring all that stuff together in one, okay, the students are going to write all this down and they're going to present it to the class. And I think it's really important for students to get up and speak. Today we're kind of having students do not have the ability and the social skills to speak in front of a classroom. Okay, so that's what we're going to work on this week. We're going to get everybody kind of comfortable working with each other as a team. I want to build a team environment with my class, give them a direct experience working with the U.S. history. And I think going back to the basis, understanding what is history, what is social studies, and all the things that encompass social studies. Is important to understand looking at the colonization of the Americas and going forward. So once the students get that basis and understand, hey, there's all these different interconnected parts, once they understand all those interconnected parts, they can explain what is actually happening. So as far as I've been teaching, I'm almost through the week. The students have done a really good job. We've been getting into really deep talks about, what is history, past and present, and I really believe that they understand that relationship between the two. So I'm looking forward to this year. I have a good group of students, and I have more experience than I did last year. And I think the biggest thing for me, coming from last year, is I understand that relationship that I'm building with the students. So yeah, if you have any questions or anything like that, just let me know. I'm looking forward to this year. I think I have a good group of kids. It's just really important to understand that basis history, and we're going to set the foundation this week. So thank you for listening.